I call our June 18th, 2030 meeting for the Nash County Board of Commissioners to order at this time. And I call on Ms. Wills to have an invocation.
That's great. Everybody to come together today. We're so thankful that we do have the time to come together to discuss the business of Nash County, and to do, Lord, what we think is right for all the citizens. Just be with this meeting, be with each one of us, Lord, that we may understand we're all different, but in one body when it comes together. Just be with us now, forgive us our sins, and bless each one that's represented. In Jesus' name, amen.
And for the record, Mr. Outlaw has an excused absent today that he let us know, had a trip concerning his grandson that he needed to take care of. Second item on, or third item on the agenda is our, I guess it would be our outside presentation for this month, which is a tour of the courthouse. And Mike, I will turn it over to you to lead that. Anything we need to know before we go?
No, sir. I will say that it's dusty, still cleaning, and they're still going through quite a bit of touch-up paint-wise. So everybody just be wary of where you lay your hands or lean against, and if you see a guy near it with a paintbrush, it's probably there. So I just say be careful. But it is an active construction site, but we don't need hard hats or anything like that to go.
Okay.
So
Are we gonna get to see the tunnel?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The only question is if you want to go downstairs or down the elevator to get down to the tunnel, because if you do that, I don't think the elevator down to the tunnel is working.
But it seems like it's not a question then if it's not working.
Well, you can get to it, but I know that some people may not necessarily want to crawl to a flight of stairs to go see it. So, but I'm not sure. They said they'd have it working, but I'm not sure it's done yet.
Okay.
So, but we'll go see what we can see.
We're fine to leave our jackets in the room at this light. Look forward to it. I'll call us back to our regular session. And we're now on item 4, presentation by Nancy Nixon on update to the Parks and Land Development Plan, Pipeline, and Buyout Program.
Hi, good afternoon again to everybody. I'll try to keep it short. But I did wanted to give you an update on a few things that are going on. This is past that. This is just a table of contents for our current land development plan. I'm not going to talk about this for, oh, I did it by size of the table. We'll start with just an update for what we know about Atlantic Coast Pipeline. The trees in Nash County are mostly down. They're, for the most part, laying, I think, in the right-of-way for the pipeline, but any additional trees that need to be cut won't be cut until the fall, September, October, because this is bird nesting season, and there are restrictions on when they can cut, so they can't cut any more trees. However, in the early part of July, they're going to start removing those trees from the right-of-way and getting the ground ready and flat for the digging, for the actual pipeline construction itself. And they'll start in Northampton County, I think, at the compressor station, and they'll come south into Nash County. The expectation is that all the construction in Nash County should be complete by next summer. And they will have moved on to the next phase, which is Johnson County and south of there. In the office, we're getting, have gotten a request for a pipe construction laydown area, which is sort of a construction staging area for the pipeline. We're reviewing that currently. We've had several requests about housing for pipeline workers, for the pipeline specialists, I guess, the workers that are coming from, that will follow the whole pipeline all the way down. And our ordinance doesn't have such a thing that really works for that now, but we have had several inquiries in different areas of the county first to try to see if we can work out something for temporary housing arrangements that might be a couple of years in duration. And we've had, and we've talked with one property owner about a possible text amendment. The text amendment process may take too long to mess with the project, but anyway, they're
What are
talking
you
about
talking
housing.
Temporary housing.
They've got people that travel,
Right. Yeah,
that travel with
I
the
know that.
pipeline, they have like RVs.
RV.
And we have campground regulations, but they're designed for, you know, I'm gonna be in it for the long haul, the regular campground. We don't have anything that provides for an opportunity for, just to bring in RVs for a temporary period of time. So if we move forward with that, you'll hear some more about that later. And finally, we're in the process of scheduling a pre-construction meeting that's prior to the pipeline contractors digging in the floodplains. But that's where we are with the pipeline project. Anybody have any questions about that at this point? So that's moving, and I understand that construction, once it starts, they consider this clearing the trees out of the right-of-way to be the beginning of the actual construction phase of the project. So that will start in Nash County probably in the middle to late July, that we'll see those trees, and where the easement is for the pipeline, they'll be getting trees cleared out of there. The trees are laying on the ground now in some of those areas.
Didn't some of the opponents in Virginia and North Carolina file lawsuits that possibly may hold this up?
There may be, if anything happens with the other permits, different parts of the construction project may be held up. I don't know that that would apply to clearing the trees out of the area that they've already taken the trees down. But what would happen after that? This is just the current schedule that they have as of this morning. Okay. The next topic I was going to talk about was the buyout. We have the project ordinance is on this agenda separately, I believe, for that. And what we'll do, we're going to purchase 3 homes and demolish those and leave that land open. We will contract for appraisals and surveys and for demolition after we purchase them. And we have received the okay from the state to use the lead and asbestos contractor that was selected for it last November with one of the housing programs. If that's amenable to the commissioners, or does that sound like piggybacking to you? It's ours. We did the recruitment or the procurement for that, and we asked the state specifically about it. They said we could use it because we did it last November. So we're going to proceed with using that if those if that contractor is amenable. At the end, after we purchase these 3 lots. We would propose to transfer the ownership of the lots on Indian Trail, there's 2 of those, to the town of Nashville. I'm sending some information about that to the town this week, since both Hank Raper and Ryan Hassel have left, and those are the 2 people that I had talked to about it previously. So we'll be sending some information to the town. And we typically lease properties to the neighbors. What we do in Nash County with our buyout properties is that we lease them to the neighbors, and the neighbors often use them for additional open space or gardens or that kind of thing. We do have one in this bout, and this one printed on both sides because I'm so good at printing. But you can just pass these and look. This is at the corner of North Oak Carriage and Green Hills Road. On the other side of this intersection, it's Regis Store Road. But you can see where the lot is outlined in blue, and since it sits right on the bank of Stony Creek and right there by the bridge over Stony Creek on North Oak Carriage, I think we might look in this case at maybe instead of leaving it open with grass, of actually getting the demolition contractor, and when they smooth it out, to actually replant some trees, maybe along the right-of-way, and potentially, we can talk about this some more, but to actually reforest that one and let it go back to forest. One thing it would do is I think it would help stop people ultimately from pulling onto that lot to fish in Stony Creek. So it might be a good idea for us to let that one go back to forest. But anyway, that's not a decision or anything for today, it's just a thought. It just seems conducive for that one to go back to forest. And we do expect all those purchase activities to be completed within the next couple of months. We actually have until 2020 to complete it, but we should be finished certainly with the purchases before the end of the year. And if we have to do grass and seeding, it may be something that we take care of in the spring. Okay? Thank you. And the last thing that I just wanted to give you an update on is a land development plan update. And this is a project that we've been thinking about at the staff level for a while. Our land development plan was adopted in 2006. Taking the opportunity to update that plan is, it provides sort of a structured opportunity for the commissioners and the planning board and the citizens to look at the county and consider how we want to move forward in the next 15 to 20 years. If you think about it, back in 2006 when we were working on that plan, we didn't have a utilities department, we didn't have a recreation department. And so that's a lot of things we've done in the last decade that have kind of changed the face of the county and changed what some of our concerns might be countywide, and certainly some of the amenities that we have we want to protect. A lot of things today one of the things that's changed today in terms of land development plan is there's a lot of focus also on community health, and that typically in counties, it's a little bit different in cities, but in counties a lot of times that has to do with trails and access to open space, access to parks, that kind of thing. And the other piece of that has to do with food access. And there's a lot, you hear a lot about food deserts. And it's not, I don't think it's so much of concern in the counties. I think a lot of our folks have gardens and that kind of thing in the county, but not everybody does. And so it becomes sort of a transportation issue, I think, in the counties, more distance to grocery stores and those kind of things that are typically a concern. Other things that we have that are different is we have sewer to I-95 and NC-97 for economic development opportunities. We have pending improvements, designations of to interstate for 87, and I can't ever remember what the 264 designation is. I think it's 42, but I'm not positive. But anyway, so we have some additional interstates coming our way, interstate designations. We're also seeing growth in several areas of the county. You know, Red Oak has been consistently growing for a couple of decades. The city of Rocky Mount's putting a lot of effort and funding into some sort of game-changing strategies that they're considering in the city limits. And then we're seeing some more housing starts and some business interest in our small towns and in areas, unincorporated areas in the southern part of the county in particular. And so we just have, the plan sort of gives us an opportunity to talk about what the county might want to do at the edge of those towns, or interfacing or having conversation with the towns about what their plans are and how or whether we need to maybe we want to complement some of those plans or help support some of those plans, or just be at that interface, I guess. And if there's anything that we might want to do differently than we currently do. Currently, our land development plan primarily defines two broad areas, a suburban growth and a rural growth district. And so we want to talk about whether those are working for us, or if we want to make some changes and revisions in that kind of in that sort of approach. And I included, or what I handed out was our current table of contents. And I just want to let you know that about 3 pages of this is analysis of existing conditions, and it's a lot of tables and charts. Probably not looking at updating all of that information or reproducing all those tables, but we would select some that we think are particularly crucial or have changed significantly in the process of updating, and we'll get some input from this group to see which ones you think are the most important and what we need to focus on. So what I'd like to do, we haven't talked extensively with either the planning board or the manager's office in terms of the structure of a process for doing it, but what I would suggest is that the planning board act as the technical lead for the project with the staff, and to work on the technical pieces, and that maybe the staff would meet with the commissioners a couple at a time, one or two at a time, maybe with the planning board member, if we can coordinate that, a planning board member that's from your area. And the reason for that is to try to identify both areas of the county, communities in the county, and also leaders in the local areas that we can work with as we go forward in identifying issues and concerns, strengths, any of those kind of things that we would put into the plan update. Then we'd have the commissioners. I would like the commissioners to meet with the planning board in a work session at the beginning to kind of talk about, what you think are the issues and the strengths in the county, what we want to focus on, what we want to take a closer look at, and those kind of things. I think it's important for the two boards certainly to get together. Sometimes it's also just beneficial for the planning board members to have the opportunity to meet with the commissioners as a group and talk about the county and be sure that you feel like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and we're on the same kind of wavelength about what's important as an approach for the county's development. But anyway, that's sort of what we're thinking about at the staff level, and we would look to complete this part of the process and get that draft out to. We would also have public input meetings in the county at least once, probably twice during the process, and we would like to have it finished within fiscal year 2019. And that's going to be a pretty tough challenge, but we're not going to be updating all the background information, so it won't take as long as a full-blown plan would take if we were hiring a consultant and doing that kind of thing. So, and then after that, the next project, after you update the land development plan, then the next part of updating the process is to take a look at the UDO itself and be sure that what we have in the UDO are the tools that we need to move forward, to move the vision from the plan forward.
What's your timetable on those
On
two
the-
initiatives?
The UDO, someone else
the
will be
first
here
one.
for. No. We're going to finish it in fiscal 19. We're going to finish it within 12 months.
Questions of Ms. Nixon on this item? Nancy, just what, in your opinion, what has prompted you to bring this forward at this point in time?
The primary thing is that the plan was designed to be about a 10-year horizon. It's been 12 years. It'll take us another year probably to get it going. And at some point, it becomes an element, particularly in part-if grants in the past. And I think, well, I don't know if Clean Water Trust does grants anymore these days, but there are different funding possibilities that want to know that you have a land development plan that has been updated or is sort of currently in its time frame. So that's really the main thing, is that we're just outside that 10-year horizon that we originally designed that plan for.
Do you see any connection between updating this and possibly waiting until we resolve our countywide internet service issue? Is there any advantage in waiting to that point? Or none?
I think we could also, do you have a timetable on that? There's nothing dire about doing it.
We passed that timetable about
Oh.
a year and a half ago.
Passed it 4 or 5 times.
And where I'm going to, I just always question whether we need to have the commissioners board burdened with so many major tasks at one time.
Mhm.
Of course, that is one we've got to resolve. And you probably won't get started before then anyway, I hope, but you might just want to kind of keep that in mind.
Well, I would say too, there's nothing other than that funding cycle.
Right.
And I don't think we've had any questions about it. I'll ask Patsy, has anybody asked? I think we're just saying we have a 2006 land development plan. I don't know if it's something that has come into question, but I think it's probably pretty close to being on the verge of that, because it is out of what the stated date is for that now. But other than that, there's not anything in particular. If you want to hold on it 6 months before we ratchet anything up, or just kind of,
I would think that any
Hold on
board
to
member
it.
disagree with that. Let us finish up this other thing, could have some bearing on it. And then just keep in mind, our board normally prefers to do, work on things in its entirety when we can, rather than in small groups, because they all like to get benefit.
Okay, that's
Sometimes
fine.
you can't, but kind of keep that in mind, that that's generally the preference of the board.
I think mostly what I was thinking in terms of that was mostly to identify things that might be specific or a concern, and a concern in your area.
Right.
And also to identify contact people
Sure.
in the different areas. But we could certainly do that as a large group as well.
Any other comment? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Moving to item 5, Stacy, you gonna present the item about the delegates?
Yes, this is something that you all do annually. The National Association of Counties is preparing for their 83rd annual conference to be held July 13th through the 16th, 2018 in Davidson County, Tennessee. And the NCACC annual conference will be held August 23rd through 25th, 2018 in Catawba County. It's important that Nash County participates in the association's annual election of officers and policy adoption, and in order to do so, a member of the board needs to be selected as a voting delegate. Commissioner Belfield, Chairman Davis, and Commissioner Wells are the only commissioners attending the conference, the National Association of Counties Conference, and all of our commissioners except Commissioner Cone and Commissioner Outlaw are attending the NCACC conference.
Just to get the conversation started, the national one, I would prefer that one of the members that have been before do it, because I've never been to one, and I think I'd be a little bit of a disadvantage. And of course, it doesn't matter to me which one.
I'll take it.
Uh,
If the board agree, I'll be the voting delegate.
North Carolina has a candidate, Ray Jeffries, for second vice
Second vice
president.
president.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I'll nominate Fred.
I'll second that nomination. Well, any objection to that? All right, next item. Does that need a vote?
That's the one for NCACC?
Do you actually need a vote on
Oh,
the national one?
Yeah, they vote for, yes, please.
Okay, all right. I have a motion by Ms. Wells, a second by Chairman Davis. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Stacy?
And then we need someone to represent us at the NCACC annual conference. And again, all the commissioners except Commissioner Cone and Commissioner Outlaw will be attending.
Have a commissioner that wishes to volunteer that hasn't done it before.
Ms. Lou? Would you like to do it? I nominate Lou.
Have a motion for Ms. Richardson to do it. Is there a second that motion?
Second.
Second by Ms. Barnes. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anything else right now,
That's all.
Stacy? Item 5 is a resolution for a water shortage response plan. Mr. Stokes?
Hopefully this will be the last time I bother everybody today.
I don't consider what we've done today to be a bother, right? So far, I've kind of enjoyed it.
So we received notice that our water shortage response plan needed to be updated, and we have submitted that updated document to NC DENR or DWQ for approval. We got a draft letter back saying that we were approved, and the next step in that process is for us to adopt a resolution adopting the actual water shortage response plan. We update these things. We must submit it roughly every 5 years, so this is just this turn in the cycle. So honestly, my first time having done this for a water system, so if you have any questions, I will try to answer them. But the resolution we have in front of you is basically just that we have submitted we have on file a water shortage response plan. Yes, sir.
Mr. Lamb?
Yeah, the response plan is what you've already sent in?
We updated it, and really the only change is, since we're still getting our water from the same general areas, and what our goals are, is we changed the county manager name in it since
And
the
you have
last
to
time.
have the county manager's name in it?
Well, we went by the one we have. They have a draft one that they go by, and it's submitted.
Okay.
Have you
Are you
seen?
going somewhere?
No. Not unless y'all hadn't told me so.
Well, you act like it bothered you to have your name in it.
No, it's just,
Try to tell us
some,
something.
5 or 10 years from now, you'll have to change it.
We'll
and
do it in 5
update
years.
it. Okay, it's fine.
And
I'll be
it's-
here 5 years.
Well, it's the handoff
Hopefully.
between you delegating and saying that, the water supplier that we have has the right to declare emergency for conservation methods.
Yeah, it's generally, you don't see the names of people.
Right. And we certainly can remove that, but
No, that's
this
fine.
is what's been submitted and approved, so.
It's good. If it's approved, don't mess with it.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Any opposed by a like sign?
Thank you. And if I may add one quick question, and it's not on the agenda, but we have just recently sent out letters to some 3,000 customers this past Friday, notifying them of the rate changes that will be effective July 1st. So if you get some calls or you get some unhappy constituents and would like to forward them on to us, please have them call our office. We're happy to talk to them, as long as they're nice.
What number did they call? 459?
Well, mine is 462-2613.
Do you want it somewhere else?
Sure, no, you can send them straight to me.
One more time?
462-2613.
Okay. Any questions on that?
I would say that guy, but I tried to get him to do this and he wouldn't do that.
Okay.
No, but if anybody has questions or anything, and if they'd like for me to give you guys the talking points that we went through, I'm happy to discuss that with you, so you guys are talking.
I think it would be good if you got some talking points to just email the commissioner,
Sure.
just so we'll have it.
I'll do that.
I think Wayne had asked for that anyway, really.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that, no problem.
If you could do that sooner than later, we'll probably get called.
Yeah, and it will be, they've already started calling our office, so I know you guys will be hearing from them most likely.
Okay,
But thank you.
thank you, sir. Item 7 is interlocal cooperative agreement with the town of Middlesex for the continued development of Middlesex Corporate Center. Mr. McGee?
Thank you. You should have in your packet a copy of a proposed agreement between the town and the county.
It's a loose item.
On April 5th, Golden Leaf awarded a community-based grants-making initiative grant of $1.25 million to the town of Middlesex and subsequently entered into an agreement with the town. On June 7th, Golden Leaf approved a transfer of the grant from the town to the county as requested by both local governments. And Nash County is funding the match, which was $811,200. And we wrote for the town and we are administering the grant. The Golden Leaf grant and the county match will fund the extensions of water, sewer, and road in Phase 1 of Middlesex Corporate Center, which includes the shell building that is under construction. The Finance Department will be asking you to approve the budget ordinance so that we can submit that to Golden Leaf as the proof of matching funds. We've already submitted some of the things we're required to submit, including the project management plan. I believe the commissioners approved using some economic development funds and then some unused funds from other economic development infrastructure projects. We appreciate very much the partnership with the town of Middlesex and others as we continue to develop Middlesex Corporate Center and work with Carolina's Gateway Partnership to attract business and industry to Nash County. And at this point, all I'm asking you to do is to to approve the agreement between Nash County and the town of Middlesex to allow the town to operate the water and sewer systems and to transfer them to the town following construction and the warranty period. This agreement was prepared by the county attorney and is scheduled for town consideration on July 9th at its commissioners' meeting. And we've had similar arrangements in the past with similar projects.
Any questions of Ms. McGee on this item?
Is this going to, start to say, put a hardship on the town of Middlesex?
No, the town
Water and
is,
sewer- Water and sewer.
no, they're fully involved with the project and they will approve the final design of the project prior to us moving forward.
Any other questions? I will say, I saw, Dan Gerlach, CEO of Golden Leaf, a little while, a couple of weeks ago, and he was very thankful that, our staff, and also Ms. McGee, would be handling the grant itself, so, that was a very positive comment he had to say about that. But seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agreement. Moved by Ms. Wells, that second. Second by Mr. Wellfield. Any questions on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We're now on item number 8, which is Hurricane Matthew Hazardous Mitigation Plan Grant Ordinance, by Ms. Wood.
Okay, as Nancy spoke about earlier, this is in regard to the Hurricane Matthew Hazard Mitigation Plan Grant. Following Hurricane Matthew in October of 2016, the applications for recovery were received in the spring of 2017 and submitted to the North Carolina Emergency Management. A grant agreement was executed May 3rd, 2018, authorizing purchases of 3 properties, 1 home in Nash County and 2 homes in the town of Nashville, in order to remove them from flood hazard danger by demolishing the structures and maintaining the properties in perpetuity as open space without structures. The program must be completed no later than July 2020. Nash County anticipates completing the program in the first quarter of 2019. The attached grant project ordinance in the amount of $516,912 for the Hurricane Matthew Hazard Mitigation Plan Buyout Program is presented for your approval.
Any questions, Ms. Wood? Hearing none, entertain a motion for approval.
I have one.
Oh, excuse me, let's back up, Mr. Lamb.
Who gets the administrative dollars?
It will be a combination of how they're spent, so it's not specifically, it's just the way that the grant's set up, how they dictate the invoices are paid, or how the program is set up. So some are hard costs, some are administrative costs, so we, instead of calling them hard and soft costs, we call them construction.
Does it go to consultants or does it come to the county? The
Well,
26.
it just depends how they're spent. So some are actually acquisition costs, and some could be used for engineers or.
Administration, I think, is used for like the closings and then also the staff time that would be involved in intake and verifying benefits and those kinds of things would be the staff time.
It's a combination of
Okay.
different uses.
Thank you.
Back to entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, there a second to that motion? Second by Ms. Wells. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Ms. Wood, you're up on item 9 as well.
Okay, this next item is a housekeeping item that we need to put in place. It's something that we're already doing, but we need to have a resolution approved, as well as the policies and procedures of how we'll move forward with this. So just to give you a little background, in 2015, legislature modified General Statute 159-28 for local government, which is really how I function in the finance office with budgetary accounting for appropriations and disbursements. And it allows It allows the local government commission to adopt rules to address the execution of the pre-audit and disbursement process related to electronic transactions for local governments. This new pre-audit and disbursement rule was effective November 1st, 2017, and exists as part of the North Carolina Administrative Code. Units of government can now be exempt from the pre-audit certificate and disbursement certificate requirements on electronic transactions if the unit abides by the rules established. It's important to note that none of these rule changes exempt a unit of government from going through the pre-audit process. The rules only exempt a unit from affixing the certificate of pre-audit on electronic transactions if the unit abides by the rules set forth in administrative code. And this certificate that it keeps referring to for the pre-audit, anytime there's an obligation, before an obligation is incurred, there are a few things that I have to make sure that's happened, that there's actually a budget ordinance in place for that there's an unencumbered balance remains in that appropriation sufficient to pay the funds, and that the obligation is payable, and that I affix to the certificate a statement and sign it that says this instrument has been pre-audited in the manner required by the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act. And in dispersing a payment, which is on a check, it should say this. The check should also say this disbursement has been approved as required by the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act. What this does, it allows us to make payments, which we've been doing, but this sets forth the actual approval that I don't have to have that certificate, that statement actually on it for wire transfers that we do, direct deposits, for example, with payroll. But this just does housekeeping and puts in place that it's available for the finance office to allow these transactions. And so again, to take advantage of the rule change for electronic obligations and payments, the board must adopt a resolution authorizing the unit to engage in electronic payments as defined by General Statute 15928, which is related to local governments. The finance office must adopt policies and procedures for electronic obligations and payments, which I've attached, which I've included along with the resolution. And the finance office must present to the board at least quarterly a budget to actual statement by fund that includes budgeted accounts, actual payments made, amounts encumbered, and the amount of budget that is unobligated. And you receive this every month anyway through your through the information that we submit to the board. In summary, the written policies simply document the procedures we currently have in place. So as I indicated, it's a housekeeping, but because this was a rule put in place in the current fiscal year, we need to make sure that the resolution's been approved by the board.
Are you saying there that some payments that must be done electronically, that's the only way they can be done?
We have chosen to make some payments electronically just for ease of transaction, so we may have a wire transfer that we submit to our fire districts or to the library. When we make a payment to the library, we use a wire transfer instead of writing a check. When we pay our employees, we use direct deposit instead of, most people have direct deposit instead of an actual check. And so this actually puts in place the authority that it doesn't actually have to have that disbursement, that pre-audit statement on it. Now, that doesn't exempt me from going through the other process to make sure everything else is in place, that there's a budget, there's unencumbered funds, that I have to make sure all the other pieces are in place before we actually make the payment. But this sets the procedures and policies that we have to follow to make sure we're doing it properly.
Do you have protection?
We do. We have, and that's where the policies and procedures we have in place as far as setting limits on things, what our bank requires for us to actually do a wire transfer. It requires multiple approval levels. So once it's submitted, it actually takes 2 people to approve the wire transfer, plus we get a phone call from the bank that allows us to approve the wire transfer.
Yeah, that was one thing, the reason I asked you, one thing, I was talking with a person last week who pays all their bills electronically, and somebody was able to get into her account and draw out $9,000.
Well, and I will say that the bank, Southern Bank, also has protections for us as well. If something tries to go through, they will that is unusual, they will give us a call. And also, we watch our accounts daily. We pull our account balances and the transactions daily.
Other questions?
Just, you're gonna make that change on the,
I do. There's actually a
Resolution.
change in the resolution, the second and third whereas. It will read, currently it reads, whereas it is the responsibility of the finance officer who is appointed by and serves at the pleasure of the board. The resolution would actually read is the responsibility of the finance officer who is hired by the county manager who serves at the pleasure of the Board of Commissioners. So it just changes my level of where I am. So it'll just change those two, what my responsibility is, how I report actually to the Board of Commissioners.
Entertain a motion for approval of the resolution as modified.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Richardson, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Ms. Barnes. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Ms. Wood, on the item 10, is that a time-sensitive thing? I don't think that I had that in any packet I got before I sat down here today.
Well, I thought I had emailed it out on Friday. It would be good to have the procurement policy in place. It's currently what we're using. We've never documented anything. It's currently how we operate in the finance office, and it really just establishes a guideline for how we operate.
I think you
as far as
did
procurement.
send it out late Friday afternoon.
I
You're
did.
correct, and I saw it on my computer. I would really, if we approve it July, is that okay? I'd really
If-
like to have time to study this.
If I could just ask, I know we're meeting again on June 28th, if there's a possibility, if we could approve it maybe on June 28th, or take another look at it at that point.
What are we doing June 28th?
Policy review.
Policy.
Work session again, okay.
yeah.
So you need it before physical year starts, is that what you're saying?
Yes, I do. It would really be helpful to have that in place. Again, these are housekeeping items, and I apologize, they're so late in the year.
Have we ever seen this before?
No, these are actually just practices that we have in
Right.
place
Yep.
in the finance office.
Yep.
And we do have what I have put in place, are more restrictive as far as what's required. We typically, what we've done for procurement, we follow the state law, or state guidelines as far as informal bidding and formal bidding. But what this does, we have our local, what we've set in place in the finance office is anything over $5,000 we use as informal bidding, and then it follows all the other state guidelines as far as bidding procedures. The only other thing that's added to this is the uniform guidance, which refers to how we procure items using federal dollars, and that's new. And that's actually attached, so the policy, the way that it reads, the first section actually has a statement in there that indicates that we'll follow the uniform guidance in regard to using federal dollars, and I have that uniform guidance attached. Some of the items are actually more restrictive than what the county has, and some are less, but when it comes to using the federal dollars, we have to go with the more restrictive, either theirs or ours. And I've also attached the uniform guidance, and that was actually written by Norma Houston. She helped write the uniform guidance because that's new, so I developed it for Nash County. And I think that is gonna be used, or they put that in place, and I don't wanna say primarily for FEMA dollars, but I think related a lot to the spending of FEMA money. But anytime there's a federal grant involved, then it would require using the uniform guidance.
Will you be upset if I ask for a motion to table it until June the 28th?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion if I could to table this item to a specific time, June the 28th at 9:30.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Barnes, I second that motion. Second by Ms. Wells. Any question on the motion? All in favor of the motion? Excuse me. Go ahead, Ms. Wells.
Question, what are we gonna do with it on June 28th?
June the 28th.
We gonna go through it and
It's
discuss
gonna be
it
back up
and-
on the, agenda at that point in time. And certainly we will discuss it like we would do today. But honestly, I just hadn't had a chance to review it at all, and I would prefer to do it rather than take so much time here asking my questions. But really, I don't have any questions because I hadn't looked at it, and I just don't want to approve something I hadn't looked at. You okay with that?
Yeah, I was just wondering, what we're gonna do different on the 28th.
Give you time to
We're
review
gonna have
it.
time to review it.
Okay.
We got this late on Friday. I do recall getting it, but I just didn't, I'm not gonna say I didn't take time, I didn't have time the weekend to review it. Mr. Lamb?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay.
Just
All right.
give y'all time to review it.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 11, budget amendments, Ms. Woods.
Okay, and just in regard to the procurement policy, if you have, I really wasn't planning on going through it in detail, but if you have specific
Yeah.
questions on the 28th, I'll be happy to address those.
If each commissioner would go through it, if you have any questions, address it with Ms. Wood ahead of time, because, you know, we've got a pretty full agenda that day, finishing up the personnel policy manual as well. All right, budget amendments.
Okay, I have some budget amendments, again, for housekeeping. We're getting close to the end of the year, and we need to make sure everything is in place. The first item that I have is actually a fund balance commitment. The committed fund balance is defined as amounts constrained to specific purposes by a government itself, using its highest level of decision-making authority. To be reported as committed, amounts cannot be used for any other purpose. Through the action by formal approval of the Board of Commissioners, I would like to ask that the commitment of general fund fund balance of $750,000 be used for the anticipated construction of the Northern Nash Elementary School.
All right, you say cannot be used for any other purpose. Once we do this, it's got to be used for a capital project, but the capital project could be changed. Is that not what I learned in the class I sat beside of you in?
That is true, but it would take action by the board to do that.
Correct, I understand that.
Yes,
But
sir.
it doesn't mean if the school's not built, the money's gone. We could use it for another capital, but we can't carry it back into the general fund.
Right.
Okay, just want to make sure I got that understanding.
If I
Mr.
may
Lamb?
discuss this matter.
Sure, please.
The last few years, we've set aside some money at the end of the year for known capital projects. We, for the first time in about 4 or 5 years, we have appropriated a lot of money from fund balance, and we believe that we may even dip into that appropriated fund balance this year. But it was just, and I think this assures that we're probably gonna dip into fund balance this year. But we wanted to go ahead and set aside some money. We've been meeting with the school system, and there's a lot of discussion. Their number one priority after the early college was a elementary school in the northern part of the county in their 5 and 10-year plans. So we just are recommending that we go ahead and book this money for, or set aside this money in good faith of the board's intentions to follow through with their request for a new elementary school.
If you recall, we did a similar thing for the early college, same amount, I think.
Yes.
And I really feel the fact that we did that as early as we did, got the school system focused on that capital project, and hopefully it's gonna make us deliver it on time. So that's one of the things I think the advantages it gives this board. It lets the school board know 100% that we are ready to move forward that project once we find funding for it, but we've got some seed money there just to keep them focused on that is what the hope is.
Planning money,
Planning
architect money,
Right.
whatever.
Possible land purchases, don't really know at this point in time.
Right.
Any questions on
May I make one statement?
Sure.
I have that, this money would sit in the general fund. At this point, I can come back at a later time and transfer it actually to a project.
Right.
Will it affect the fund balance?
It will affect the,
Una-
it'll affect the unassigned. This will move to committed, it'll affect the available fund balance. This will move to committed. So it won't be it'll affect the unassigned. There's so many levels of fund balance right now. But this will be committed and it will not be unassigned. So, we can't use this for any other purpose.
It's still in the fund balance, but it will affect
Here.
unassigned fund balance.
Exactly. We cannot use this
That's
for
what he
anything else.
said.
We're making a commitment to this project.
Thank you.
Any other
But if
questions?
we approve it, it would be assigned, wouldn't it?
It will be assigned, but it will
It
still
will.
be in fund balance.
Yeah, I know, but, I thought I heard the word on the sign.
It is, it will affect the unassigned balance. It'll come out of that. It's higher level than an assignment. I know that sounds funny. This is gonna be a commitment.
Yep.
An assignment will be an action that, you could give to the county manager, but this is the highest level where the board can take action on it. So we're committing the funds.
Donna, correct me on this, but I think that basically the difference between the two of them is once we do this money would have to be used for a capital project. Not necessarily that capital project, but a capital project. And to move it to another capital project, it would have to take this board's action to do that. Correct. Any other questions? Get a motion at this time.
But you got some other ones
Yes,
too.
we're gonna do them all together.
Well, let's do that one independently. If everybody's okay with it, I'd entertain a motion to approve this, budget amendment.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Wells, there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bellfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Any opposed by the same sign? Seeing none, stand approved.
Okay, so the following budget amendments are presented for the board's consideration. The first item,
I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
That, project, have we done a reimbursement resolution for the, school?
we have not done a
Okay.
reimbursement resolution.
We can do that on the ninth. That would be good. Okay, thank you.
Do it on 28th if you need to. It's what we
Okay.
have to do it.
Okay, yeah, that's
The-
easy.
The first item, the first two
Good
items are
question.
actually, again, housekeeping. This is in regard to the financing proceeds for the construction of the Middlesex Corporate Center. This actually just sets up in our fund, in our separate capital project fund, the other financing proceeds that we received, the 1.7 million, and setting up the expenditure line, the 1.7 million for that. No county funds are needed. The next item's with debt service on the Middlesex Corporate Center Shell Building. This amendment properly budgets the principal payment due June 2018. We've already budgeted for the interest, and again, this is housekeeping to make sure that everything is properly appropriated in our budget. It's $340,000. The next item is for the medical examiner. This amendment's to budget funds to cover additional costs for medical examiner fees. We're estimating needing an additional $7,500. The thing is, that's difficult to predict what that's gonna cost. And so just to make sure that the funds are available to pay the invoices, I'm requesting additional funding. The next item is with the IT PEG supplemental grant. This amendment's to budget additional funds to cover projected costs associated with the public education grant program. Due to the nature of the program, there's a separate reserve available for the program-related expenditures. And so the money's actually coming out of that grant reserve, or that supplemental PEG grant reserve. $4,700 relates to salaries and benefits and travel and training. Next item is Parks and Recreation Department. This budget amendment makes funds available that have already been collected in program revenue for sports services for spring sports, soccer, t-ball, baseball, and softball. That's $9,696. No county funds are needed. Next item is with the jail. This amendment's to budget additional funds to cover projected departmental overruns through June 30th. These projected shortages are to cover additional medical service costs due to the cost pool limitations being met and for adult detention expenditures, just, due to services required to be provided by the Nash County Jail. I'm requesting an additional $20,000 in medical services and additional $20,000 in adult detention. Again, these are difficult to predict based on the number of the people in the detention center and the numbers that are in the detention center. And so this is to make sure that we have enough budgeted to be able to cover our expenditures to the end of the fiscal year.
You left off the last sentence. No county funds are needed.
Senior Services Department, this amendment is to reallocate HCCVG funds between services provided. That's with our Home Community Care Block Grant. This is to ensure 100% utilization of grant funds. State funding, this decrease in fund balance appropriation is due to shifting funds that do not require a 10% county match. And it's a decrease of $1,022. And the next item, or the final items with Soil and Water Conservation Department. This amendment is to budget donated funds received from Farm Bureau for Ecology Day programs. It's $400, no county funds are needed.
That's 8 budget amendments. Any questions from the board on either of those 8 amendments? Manager, entertain a motion.
Motion that we approve those 8 budget
Have a motion by
items amendments.
Mr. Belfield, for approval. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Mr. Combs. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign, motion carries. Good job. Item 12 is board committee or special reports. In Wayne's absence, I'll just continue, if that's okay with everybody. In the interest of time, report on significant items. Commissioner District 1, Lou Richardson.
No report at this time.
No report at this time. District 2, Commissioner Belfield.
Yes, the farmer's market, we're changing this year from having it open on Wednesday, moving it to Tuesday.
In the
And
afternoon.
we're gonna do it in the afternoon from 4 to 7. But in evaluation, I missed that meeting because I was out of state. But in the evaluation, they didn't think they were getting enough activity, and they came up with the idea of doing it on Tuesday, from 4 to 7 rather than.
So it won't be Wednesday morning anymore.
Right.
No, they're taking that out, it'd be Tuesday and Saturday.
Yep.
And in addition, they're gonna have entertainment there, music and
And
things.
food, and food.
And so, and we have a new, director of the farmer's market now that's replacing Jimmy Winters, who resigned.
It's a female,
Because
I
of
understand.
health reasons. And she worked for the Nash healthcare system, but I can't think of her name right now, I don't have it with me, but anyway.
She's doing a good job.
From all the information I got, that she'll do a real good job with it. And, well, this is something I advocated when we met in January, that we need to build more activity around that farmer's market. And I believe she was at the meeting too, at the time when we discussed it. But anyway, we're trying a new approach there, and hoping that Tuesday will be better than Wednesday. Juvenile crime prevention, last meeting, I believe we approved the budget for the new fiscal year, 200 and, I believe, $87,000 for the programs here in the 2 county area, Twin Counties, Nash and Edgecombe County. Upper Coast Plain Council of Government, we have hired a new executive director there who is coming from Georgia. And he'll start July 1. Our meeting monthly meeting is tomorrow night at 5:30, start at 5:30. We're having a reception for Gary from 3 to 5, from 3 to 5. And I believe, didn't the commissioners get an invitation?
We did, at the
That's what I
Impact
thought.
Center at World Tabernacle Church from 3 to
Yeah.
5.
And we will be approving the budget in our meeting, once the meeting starts. With the full board would be at 6:45. And we approve $10 million budget.
And dinner's at 6:15.
And, yeah. Tom River Transit, we meet Thursday. And, we have several items on the agenda. I will mention those. We're gonna approve the DEA goal analysis and approve night shuttle fare increases. That's something we got to look at. And the approval of the First Transit Management Contract Extension. That's the company that operates the transit. So that is my report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bellfield. Moving to District 3, Commissioner Combs.
Neither one of these two boards haven't met since our last.
All right, moving to District 4, Commissioner Barnes.
Nash, UNC Nash, Healthcare System, we have hired a CFO and continue to interview for the Chief Medical Officer. We also should, the budget will be brought before the board at the next meeting on July 12th. And for Trillium, I didn't attend that meeting. The last meeting, I had a conflict with the Ag Steering Committee at the County Commissioners Association. It was on the same day. But I will say that Columbus County is due to make the move to Trillium on July 1. No. And also, there's a fundraiser for the Hope Initiative on July 12th. It's a documentary, this movie, The Cost of Living High, and that will be, tickets are $100, and again, it'll go toward the Hope Initiative.
That it?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, Commissioner Outlaw, of course, isn't here. Mary, anything to report on Board of Trustees not met? And a couple of Cope's complaint he said had not met, and Broadband Committee, all we can say is we're still working on it. Basically, very,
We'll have
very
another
hard.
meeting soon, right?
We got one scheduled already. I don't have the date. Did we not?
We do not.
We do not. Okay,
I didn't know about it.
okay.
We're continuing to work with providers,
Right.
and we hope to bring you a staff recommendation.
That's right, we're looking at staff recommendation, I remember that now, we got it, okay? All right, moving on to, District 6, Ms. Wells.
I talked to Michael Williams about people for the board. He says there's a certain criteria they have to be a board member on turning point, and he has sent some information out to the different people in the community or different businesses, and he's trying to get us some names and to come back.
Okay.
STEP is, got a statewide award for the work they've done on trying to help children get ready for school and go through things. So they were very pleased with that.
I did read about that. All right, District 7, the TDA has not met. I reported last time about our budget meeting. Rocky Mountain MPO, I actually missed that meeting at our last month meeting because it lasted beyond 4:30, but the biggest thing that happened at that meeting, I did get with the staff person, Bob League, and talked to him about it. They did elect a new chairman because Mr. Wiggins was our chairman and W.B. Bullitt was elected chairman for our MPO moving forward. Middlesex Shell Building, Mike left, but it's moving right along, still is on site, footings are finishing up. So you should be seeing still go up about most any time. Gold Rock improvements, I don't think no update there, is it, Vince, from what we had the last time? I did get the last demolition quote in last week, and I just need to get with Mike and go over that, go over those with him, or estimates for it. And then the joint school board meeting, Mr. Outlaw and Mr. Belfield and myself did meet again. Based on what we covered was just an update on capital improvements, being the early college, getting started in the next couple of weeks. When they relocate out of that, they'll be finishing up the other two buildings, be relocating to that, and hopefully before the end of July,
July the 12th.
July the 12th, the school system will be in there doing that work. You got my email about permitting. I sent you one update on that. We're still trying to work through the little issue with getting a permit, but hopefully we got that resolved. And we'll report to the board once we finalize that, so they can get started real soon.
And meet again on the 11th.
And our next meeting is July the 11th. At the last meeting, they did have a couple more funding requests. They failed to get the funding from the state for the new high school over at the existing middle school, which is basically a tech high school. They have another name for it, but they lost a couple $100,000 there. In our budget approval process, we did not approve any more funding other than what we had already done for teacher supplements. But just if we get where we feel like we need to add more money to them, we can do it with a budget amendment later. But at this point in time, our budget for the school system is approved. They are on track to have the grant turned in August for the new high school. Pretty much got it ready, as I understand it. And that's it for Commissioners 7. Anything else that the commissioners have to say about committee reports?
July 12th, is that when we meet with the school board again?
I think it's the 11th is what I wrote down.
It's 11th.
July the 12th is when they're gonna do the ribbon cutting for the early college at Nash Community.
Okay. Yeah, we meet school board again on the 11th, Mr. Belfield, at
Yeah, 3 o'clock is.
3 o'clock, that's
Yeah,
correct.
but I had that down, but I thought you were saying July 12th. there.
July the 12th is when the, no meeting there, but it's when the school system hopes to get building D for the early college to start their improvements.
Okay.
They have the ribbon cut for the new buildings that day.
Well, I won't be here now, we'll be going to the national meeting
Correct.
on the 12th. Yeah, that's on Thursday.
Oh, and you wouldn't.
What's that?
I said, you'll be gone too, right?
I don't remember what day I'm leaving.
It really starts Saturday and ends Tuesday night.
Actually, I'm not leaving till the 13th.
The 13th, there's activities going on the 12th, 13th, and 14th. There's some workshops.
Right.
And so some of them you have to pre-register for.
Correct.
They start on the 13th.
Right. Well, I'm actually leaving on the 12th, but it's late that afternoon.
Well, you and I are already ready for luncheon on the 12th.
Yeah.
That's free.
All right, anything else in open session? If not, I'd entertain a motion to go in closed session to consult with the attorney obtained by the public body in order to preserve attorney-client privilege and also to discuss a property matter. Anything else to add to that agenda, Mr. Durham?
No, sir.
Got a motion?
We don't
We got to close
anticipate.
this session first. No, you
Okay.
do that afterwards.
Right.
Yeah, do it after.
I have a motion by Ms. Wells to go into closed session. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Second, any questions on that motion? And reminder tells for the benefit of the media that we do not feel like we'll have any action taken after the closed session today. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion stands approved.